This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 5 p.m. And we'll begin with a call to order by roll call. Mary Hartman is not here. Mike Lawson.
Present.
Rich Feely.
Here.
Linda Escobedo.
Present.
Matt Johnson.
Present.
Carrie LaFleur will not be here. And Keith Bergman present. So that is a quorum. And first, I'll just announce I think we should have a hard stop of 6 o'clock for this meeting. Rich Feely needs to leave at that hour. We've got a few votes that we need to take, but why don't we do the best we can to conclude our business by 6 p.m.
I was impressed by the meeting packet. It should.
Oh, thank you. You know, it was 37 years of practice. I don't even want to tell you how many select board meetings were involved where I had to do just that packet week in, week out.
Yeah, the only difference with the select board ones is they're about 5 times longer.
Yes, right. So next order of business is approval of minutes, and we have a set for October 9th that have been circulated. So I wonder if there is a motion to approve.
Move to approve the minutes as listed in the packet.
Second.
Thank you. And that does reflect, those minutes you got in the packet did reflect some edits from Matt, for which I appreciate that effort. Further discussion, let's do a on the motion to approve, we'll do a roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Linda?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And Keith? Aye. So that passes by 5-0. Let's move next to, I'd like to take up the Housing Authority and the Town of Concord funding applications that we have to vote on. Do those first. You have the first off, the trust has voted, had voted at previous meetings to invite those applications. So we were pleased to get them in, and those both were circulated to board members ahead of the meeting. We'll take the Housing Authority one first, and you'll recall that the Housing Authority had initially indicated they would be submitting an application to the Community Preservation Committee for funding. At which time the trust voted to invite them to apply to us instead. And I was pleased to see that the $300,000 that we're being asked to provide would go towards a total project cost of $1,050,000, of which the difference would be sought in state funding. So Jennifer Polito, the Housing Authority Executive Director, is here to talk to us about this application. So please tell us about it. And thanks for being here.
Thanks, Keith, and thank you all for inviting us to submit our application to you for this retrofit fire sprinkler project. This actually came to us from the fire department. The Housing Authority and the fire department work hand in hand, and following the Fall River fire, there was some concern of tenants. They were just concerned about their safety. And so the fire department and I discussed a possibility of a retrofit sprinkler project, which has never been done in public housing. So trying to figure out how we would navigate it to come up with a cost was a little bit difficult. We are part of what's called a regional capital assistance team, which is a state-funded team that helps housing authorities for capital projects. And they were able to help me design a project through their CPS system, which you'll see I included in the packet. That figure is an estimate that would not include site work or the additional design work that it will take, since this would be the first time a housing authority has done something like this. Usually you see it in new development. So EOHLC offers a HILAT program, and that HILAT program incentivizes housing authorities to apply for town funding through other sources, and they would match it at 2.5 times. So with the generous $300,000, we will, if approved, we will then apply for HILAT to get this over the hump. We would then contract with a designer to begin the process. So the Housing Authority is currently going through a fire alarm upgrade project now. We're in the design phase. So I kind of asked our folks at HLC if I can scoop this one in really quick at the same time, but we are not able to do that, unfortunately, because that project is so far ahead. However, the designer who is working on that project, HLC will likely be able to give us the same designer. So as they're designing our fire alarm upgrade, they'll be able to know that this is going to be next on our list. Because it has state funds involved in it, it will become an EOHLC project, which means that even if you guys give us the 300,000, they're going to dictate kind of how and who we spend that to. They're going to do all of our procurement. We'll have a project manager. So there will be quite a bit of oversight, which I think is beneficial, I've found. But I am happy to take questions. I also included a letter from the fire department. I have had some conversations with residents about this, and they seem excited and pleased that there is consideration for their safety and also for the property.
Very good. Thanks. Thanks very much, Jennifer. And I did note that the Everett Gardens and the Everett Gardens expansion buildings consist of 52 units of affordable housing. So it benefits a lot. Are there questions? All right. I think you got us at an opportune time when this project was first voiced, and so we're pleased to be able to help you pursue these significant outside fundings. So I wonder if someone would care to make the motion. I'll just
Actually, I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead. Go
which
ahead,
is,
Matt.
so Jennifer, you had quoted an estimate of the price, but given the matching funds, I guess I'm trying to understand what happens in the case of either going under the potential 1,500,000 or 50,000 total, right? Because I guess they would have 750, we'd have 300, or going above. So can you describe to me what would happen in each case?
Sure. So let's say that it goes above, which there is a possibility that that could happen, because by the time this project is designed and everything, like, we're not looking for a little while and projects increase. The Housing Authority gets formula funding every year they're able to put towards capital needs. So they would likely pull it from there. Or there could be other grants out, or HLC could just give it to us, which is also
the 2.5 times match is not the end of the story. There are other
agreed. Yeah.
potential. Okay, so that's the
It
high
wouldn't stop
side.
the project. Yeah.
If by some chance it ended up being less than 1,050,000, would there be just pro rata, we would get back some of the money, or would they just have less of a match?
I think they would have less of a match. So
Okay.
when they do the
So
2.5
our
times,
300,000
yeah,
is in, whatever happens, it's going to be used.
yes,
Or under, and
exactly.
we've done our part, basically.
And there's a possibility. So with the 2.5 times, what they do is they look at the Housing Authority and they determine what they have in reserves and what they have in project need. And so sometimes they may not give us the full 2.5, they may give us 2 and then force us to take it from other pots, which we're going to kind of not necessarily argue, but advocate to not do that, because we have a lot of other capital needs. Like we have a massive heat pump project going and items like that. But they do really work with us. I've noticed on other projects that we haven't had the funding secured. They figure it out on the finance side.
Okay, and then another question for Keith. I know that there's been some sensitivity on the CPC that, we need to be spending the funds that we have, gathered from them. This counts, right, as a CPA valid expenditure. So
Yes, it does. We would be expending it from CPA funds. In fact, both of the requests that we have in front of us tonight
would
would
qualify.
come from CPA
Right.
funds
So that would help
that we
with
already
the
have.
story of that. Yep, we are using the money that they're giving us.
We are motivated spenders,
That's right. Okay, thank
especially
you.
when we're asking
That's
for
all.
more money from the same source, right? Okay, would any further questions? The proposed motion is for the trust to vote pursuant to our funding guidelines to approve the Housing Authority's application for $300,000 in CPA funds for the Everett Gardens expansion retrofit fire sprinkler project. And further to authorize the chair to execute a grant agreement in said amount with the Housing Authority, subject to approval as the town council. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, so moved by
Matt first.
and the second was Rich. Okay. Further discussion on that motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Mike,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Linda,
Hi.
Matt,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that passes 5-0. Thanks, Jennifer and Housing Authority for thinking of us and for the good work that you're doing that we can help to support.
Thank
So
you guys. We really appreciate your generosity. We already used some of your funding previously, and we have a beautiful family that lives at Forest Ridge. So we really appreciate your advocacy.
Thanks so much. Next, and just as a heads up, Shelley Gehring is with us as well. She has a hard stop of 5:30. So we're going to do the town of Concord's funding request for 56,000 next, and then we're going to go to Shelley right after that and come back to the rest of the agenda. So at our last meeting, the trust voted to invite the town of Concord to apply for $56,000 to update the 5-year housing production plan. The town has a similar application in front of the Community Preservation Committee, which we understand the town would withdraw if the trust can fund it. We scheduled this meeting tonight because the Community Preservation Committee is scheduled to review the application they received this coming Tuesday night, the 28th. So if we do take action tonight to approve it, then the town could withdraw it in time for that meeting. So we have the application. We did take a vote to invite it at our last meeting, and I'll invite Liz and Elisa to just tell us about the project. And thank you.
Sure, thanks, Keith. So this is the request is for $56,000 to update the 2022 housing production plan. It may seem that we did this not that long ago, but apparently the housing production plan will expire in 2027, which was why we submitted the application for the CPA funding. And basically this would be to hire a housing consultant team to update the plan. We would be splitting the project so that RHSO would be really providing the needs assessment and kind of the coordination with the local boards and committees, the housing boards and committees. And the housing consultant would be really doing the more of the technical work and the production of the actual document. So that's kind of where that is at. And I'll ask Liz if you want to add anything to that as well. I know you're really familiar with this project. So Liz, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that was a great introduction. This is really funding for next next winter to start the procurement for the consultant. And then after that, to get the town, team together on this. So there's a lot of runway on this, timing of runway. It was put in because of the CPC timeline, but with the trust, there's more flexibility, but nonetheless, it's a FY 27 expense.
Very good. Thanks very much. Rich, you have your hand up.
Yeah, obviously this won't, well, it'll have the 2020 census data, I assume, but will things like housing supply and demographics, will that be more updated than 2020?
Yeah, we use the American Community Survey, which is updated every 2 years.
Every 2 years. So if we finish this, we do this in 26, it would be based on what, 25 data, assuming the government ever goes back to work.
It depends on what's updated for the ACS, but we would use the latest ACS data. We'd use the latest inventory data. We use the latest data, and there's 26 different sources. So only some of them are those federal sources.
Okay, thanks. Well, no, I think they'll be back to, I hope they'll be back to work by the time we need to write the report. Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions about this? The one suggestion I made and I indicated in the agenda action request cover sheet anyway was I thought it was helpful in the 2022 update that there was a committee, a steering committee that worked with the RHSO and the town and the consultants. But that steering committee was comprised entirely of housing groups. And as you know, one of the recommendations to come out of the housing plan was that we ought to expand ourselves to from the 4 housing groups that were in the housing roundtable to 7, including the select board, planning board, and community preservation committee. So just a note to the files, perhaps, that when the time comes to launch this update, that I think we'd be including the housing roundtable. That would probably be the venue where we would report in quarterly on how this is going. But if there were representatives from the various roundtable boards that wanted to work more closely with the town as it proceeds on this, that might be something that the town will want to pursue.
Last time the select board made the appointments to the steering committee. I don't know if that'll be the same this time.
Yeah, I think it would need to be, and then it would, get into there's such attention now to, how committees are formed and how often you can serve on a committee, and I'm raising the issue, and then we can have the select board at the appropriate time decide how to do that. So, great. So I wonder if there's a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to that the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust approve the town of Concord's application for $56,000 of CPA funds pursuant to our funding guidelines to update the 5-year housing production plan approved on December 21st, 2022, and to further authorize the chair to execute a grant agreement with the town subject to approval as to form by town council.
So, second?
Motion by Matt, second by Rich. For the discussion?
Or by
Yes.
Mike.
Have Linda, give Linda this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Motion by, second by Linda. All right, there you go. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
When I don't look up, I can't see. So,
I heard Mike first, but
all right,
I'll be faster next time. It's like a game of Jeopardy.
right.
Get the
You have,
buzzer.
but you have to buzz in with the right answer though, so else we take points off.
King Leopold III. Is that the right answer?
What is?
Yeah, or what is? That's up for.
Right. So on the motion, let's do a roll call vote. Mike,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Linda,
Right.
Matt,
Aye.
Keith, aye. So that proves 5-0. We all got the answer correct. And thank you to the town for submitting this application to us. And look forward to the project proceeding at an appropriate time in the future.
Thank you so much, Keith. We're looking forward to working on it soon.
So just a reminder,
you.
when will this be removed from the CPC list?
I think they're discussing it on Tuesday, and I'm presenting, so I would withdraw it at that point.
Okay,
It's scheduled for that agenda on Tuesday.
Great.
Great.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks very much. Next, we're going to go to Shelley from MHP, and thanks for coming back to talk to us about implementing our goals and objectives. And I had shared with the trust members your revised proposal, which followed our discussion last time about wanting to sort of assign various goals to trustees who could be the champions of various goals. So we've all got the proposal, and I wonder if you could just talk to us a bit about it. And thanks for coming back.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So as I told Keith in an email, this is just a proposal, and if it still doesn't quite work for you, you can keep tweaking it. The hope was just to help support you in creating a model that spreads out the work a little bit and kind of gets you in a space of allowing each trustee to kind of take on a piece of the work and trying to create a structure for some accountability in that as well. Keith is very talented in the municipal government. He won't always be the chair. And so I think I'm just trying to encourage you to think about a model that could help spread the work a little bit. So at our last meeting, we talked about that having subcommittees felt way too much reporting meetings and filing minutes, etc. So this is a model where it would be encouraging one trustee to take the lead in overseeing the implementation of a goal. So you have 3 goals, so you need at least 3 trustees, 1 per each goal. It doesn't mean that the trustee is doing all the work for that, not at all, but that the one trustee is helping to kind of move forward, shepherd, whatever, one particular goal. So earlier in the year, we had come up with some different strategies under each goal. I think that the board could do a little bit more work, probably fleshing those out or adding some strategies to that, but we've started that work. So the idea is that the person that takes on each goal, the goal leader, you can call it what you want, but the goal leader for now, reviews the goal that they've signed up for, reviews the strategies that you've already identified, and starts to think about what would be a realistic implementation strategy. What strategies or implementation plan? What strategy would you start with, or 2 strategies would you start with? Start thinking about the kind of tasks that would need to happen to move those strategies forward, sequencing of them. So to give a little bit of thought to this, and this person might want to engage town staff or other trustees or other stakeholders in the community to think through, given what's going on in Concord, given what's already been identified with your goals and strategies, given your housing production plan, what makes sense, what kind of order, with the idea that then the goal leader would present their idea, their plan, for the beginning of 2026. So through the first quarter, this is not set in stone. This is just an idea. And at that time, other trustees could comment, maybe make suggestions. At some time, there might be the situation where the board just says, sounds great, let's vote on it, let's accept it. And then the goal leader would then help to drive and move things forward according to the plan, the idea, the sequencing of strategies. In other cases, trustees might have different ideas, or something might have changed between now and then, and you want to make some changes, and then maybe the person comes back at the next meeting. So, but that at the beginning of next year, that you would try to decide on some kind of general implementation plan per goal. And then the work would start. The goals and strategies that we've created, it's over 5 years, so keep that in mind. And the goal leader might do pieces of it, but there are things that fall under that other people are already doing. So I believe that Rich is already involved in some of the state legislative initiatives like transfer fee. So he may or may not be the goal leader for fundraising, or actually that might be under policy, but he's playing a role in that. He doesn't necessarily need to be the goal leader for it. He could just continue doing that piece of it. But I think that instead of expecting just the chair to be driving each of the things forward, I think if Matt took one of the goals, I'm just going to throw out names. Matt took one of the goals to help kind of move that forward. If Linda took another one to help move that forward, and then Keith would do pieces of it because he already is. And Keith could provide some of the overall accountability of making sure that updates are being given at meetings and decisions are coming before the full board. But if members could take a more kind of intentional pieces, I think it could help, particularly that you have term limits for your members, and it could help you kind of build, I think, a different structure that could just spread the work out a little bit.
Comments on that? I'll have one that I think that there are, or I know, I had a short list of maybe half a dozen particular projects that it seemed like we've already identified as things we're moving forward. They fall across the various goals that we have, but we might want to, it might even make sense to just say for our next meeting, ask trustees to indicate what would they like to volunteer to do, what areas are of most interest to you and that you think you could help make a difference with, and then we'll look those lists over and come up with a way to divide it up. So Matt.
I just wanted to say thanks, Shelley, for the revision. I think that it reflects the feedback that we gave last time. I would take it even a little bit further and say that if we had a goal, the 3 goal leaders as you proposed, that none of the 3 should be Keith. He's still has plenty to do.
Yep.
And that I also like Keith's proposal that, while you've proposed a structure where it is responsibility for a domain that we cover, there is also the possibility, and it might be an easier way to start for some members to be given a more concrete, like a specific project task that they can do, and the two don't have to be in conflict with one another. You could really have a goal leaders assigned as you proposed, and then perhaps we do have a project or two that somebody is passionate about and wants to get involved in, and we have more than 3 people that are actually got action items assigned, which is a healthy thing for a committee.
No, absolutely. And that's outlined in this, that the idea of the goal leader is just to not lose track of the ultimate goal. So the number of units that you really want to help support so that you're moving towards that, the amount of money that you're wanting to raise. So that the idea of the goal leader is to think through kind of the order of strategies, what you're going to start with first, and then to start thinking about tasks and who could do what. And so to Keith's point, I think a great next step could be like, who is particularly interested in helping to drive development and support development? And so who wants to kind of be the goal leader on that? And policy and planning, fundraising, and then a start could be having a meeting with Keith of saying like what things have already, just to make sure the person's clear on what's already happening, what's already kind of falls underneath that goal to help inform their thinking about it. And absolutely, it's not that the goal leader does it all. No, it's that other trustees would step in and take pieces of it based on interest or what you're already doing.
Yeah, and then I just had one caution, which is that you've noted, and I think it would be helpful for a goal leader to ask for help. But we also
Yep.
need to be mindful of open meeting law and not to ask too many other committee members
Mm.
for help, in which case we might involve a quorum. So it's just, a tricky little detail that we just need to keep in touch on, especially as we'll probably each need to liaise with Keith on what we're working on to
Yep.
begin with anyway. So,
Yep, all great points.
Thanks. Thanks very much. Rich?
Yeah, thanks, Shelley. I think I turn into a white mouse again next May, but I would be willing, even before the next meeting, to put together sort of for the finance side, what I think the 3 or 4 tasks we're working on include, of which the transfer fee is the biggest, and some of the steps that need to happen. And so even if I turn into a white mouse, that might be a place for somebody else to start when they come on.
Thanks, Rich.
Great.
I think
Other
a goal leader
thoughts?
volunteer.
Yeah, yeah, Rich just volunteered as the funding goal leader. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I
Fantastic.
mean, for the duration of my time
Yep.
on the
Your,
board,
Remaining
your
Right.
tenure.
months.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
The other goals that we have are a development goal and a policy/planning goal.
Mhm.
I wonder if either of those strikes anyone's fancy as
Keith, I'm happy to do anything, but I'd like to see us flesh these out a little bit.
sure.
See what the sub parts of development are and policy and planning, and give us a little bit better sense of what we're raising our hand for.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to proceed. We could have a fuller discussion at our next meeting, and I'll put together some things for that agenda so that we can so folks can have more of an idea of what they um, might have to choose from. And in the meantime, if there are any things that individual trustees would like to be sure to work on, even if it's not being a goal champion, is there some particular strategy that we're either identified or that we could better pinpoint? Feel free to let me know as I put together an agenda item for our next meeting.
It's
And
great.
I think that Matt brought up at the last meeting or pointed out that some of the strategies overlap. So like MCI Concord, we have it under policy right now because you're advocating for there to be affordability at MCI Concord, but it, goes under development too. It's a huge development opportunity. So there is some of that happens. So it's just trying to create a structure for you to have your eye on kind of some key goals and then
Yeah.
to try to
Actually,
spread out the work.
that's a good example, because what it might mean, and on MCI Concord, we may just not to do too much organizing here, but we may just find that we need an MCI subcommittee once the town announces what its plan for MCI is going to be. That supposedly will be forthcoming in the near future. I don't know what it is. I'm not in that loop, but I think that it will create one of those opportunities that the trust could really contribute to the amount of additional affordable housing that's coming if there's either an MCI Concord or one of the other surplus properties that the town has, that those would be opportunities that we, I think, would want to concentrate a lot of our efforts on, whether that's done, individually or as a group. So Other input or questions for Shelley? Okay, I know
Yeah.
you had limited time tonight,
Yeah.
Shelley, and thanks for coming back. And thanks for all that
Thank
you're
you.
that you're doing for us. All right, take care.
Absolutely. Nice to see you all.
Right, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next is, we'll go back to agenda item 3C, the CHDC buy down program. And this is one of those ones where we did have a member volunteer, Rich Feely, to explore how the trust could work with the CHDC to make the buy down program succeed. That the collective $500,000 that the trust that the CHDC has from community preservation funds and the trust. As we discussed last time, that total 500,000 isn't actually enough to pull off a buy down, where you have to purchase a property, maybe fix it up, and then deed restrict, and then sell it to a qualified buyer with a deed restriction, and that there can be funds that are returned from that following that sale. So Rich, do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically using money that we are sitting on because we need land in order to have projects as working capital to facilitate buy downs. In the immediate example, because it's CPC money, it's my understanding it would have to be a buy down at 80%, affordability to the ultimate buyer. But my hope is that in the longer run, we could use this, at higher levels if we had transfer fee or other money that wasn't tethered to a particular AMI, below 120, where we could resell for more and the working capital requirement would be a lesser percentage, or the contribution would be a lesser percentage of the ultimate sale. It's basically we're making a short-term loan and getting it repaid by the ultimate buyer. The immediate goal is to achieve this for one unit for CHDC right now while they have the hopefully extended CPC funding and the money that we've already committed. In the longer run, I do see this as a model for doing what I think is going to happen on the Cape and the islands, where they're going to buy small houses before the Airbnb people buy them and then sell them to the workforce. So, let's start here, but my goal would be that it would be a model to use some of our, money we're holding for future projects for short-term loans for this purpose. Any questions?
Matt?
Well, I think Liz was ahead of me.
But
Okay, yeah.
but the board first, the board should comment.
Okay, well, my only question was, looking through this example is when I look at the 650K purchase price, I just don't know if that's still realistic. I think that it may be nowadays higher. I'm not aware of, homes selling for under 650 or at 650 even in recent times. So I just don't know, is the amount that we're suggesting here for the bridge enough? And then when would we commit the amount that we're going to supply to the bridge? Would it be sort of opportunistic, based on the proposal and when the time comes, and we're just authorizing that to happen? Or would we be providing the bridge loan now up front for this specific amount?
My view is that we should have a fully lawyered arrangement in place and insert the numbers. In other words, we know that if it's going to work, CHDC would have to move fast, and there wouldn't be time to sort of do all the lawyering. but I'm not saying that we have to commit ourselves to a particular number at this point. And if it looks like it's not feasible, that, but I think if we start with this amount of money, then CHDC is in the market looking to see if they can find something like that.
Yeah, it's just that it seems like
It may not,
we could
yeah,
have more money available for such a thing. And yet I, what we need to vote tonight really is to, set up the arrangement,
right.
not
That's all.
necessarily the amount or the timing. And then
Well,
we need to be prepared for, and I guess we would set a sort of a minimum that we'd be prepared to commit,
Yep.
but that, we actually have more capital available. It's just that if we tie it up, of course, then we could potentially miss other opportunities. So it's something to keep in mind. We need to understand, like, what is the cycle time of this, from the time that we need to commit the funds to the time that we would get them back.
I have a suggestion of what we would do tonight, and it is, so since this summary from Rich is basically what has come from we've had a single meeting between the chairs of the CHDC and the trust that Rich scheduled, and we had and there's a general outline of what the trust might be able to do, and a general idea of what the CHDC might want to do. CHDC, to my understanding, has not discussed it. They will be discussing it at their next meeting.
Yeah.
So perhaps one way that we would want to proceed tonight is to invite the CHDC to, if we like this idea, and I would love to see if we can do a buy down and to know what the CHDC thinks is the amount of money they would need to do it, is to invite them to apply for that. And the idea that, as has been said, I think it would be important for the CHDC to have a written grant agreement with the town so that they know how much they can how much they can spend to purchase and, fix up a property, whatever that amount is that they think they're going to need, with the idea that there will be some amount of that that would be repaid to the trust. It would be a short-term, it would be a grant, but would be repaid after the sale. Whatever that looks like, I would want the CHDC not to have to come back here for our permission to do a particular sale. I would like them to act quickly when opportunities arise, because they have the funding. And so I think it would behoove CHDC with Liz's assistance to figure out what do they need, what do they think they need in such an arrangement, and then I think we should invite them to apply to us for that.
Sort of a
Liz?
loan pre-approval.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I see. Oh, Linda, you had a question?
Well, I was just going to comment on a couple things. One, Matt's comment that, this amount of money we're talking about is probably higher for a buy down than we were thinking about. And a recent example of that was a sale of a condo unit at Concord Common that went for $700,000. The second comment I wanted to make is that I understand the need to be able to act quickly. It'll be interesting to see who is going to be the actor in this technically, whether it really is CHCD. And the other part of what I'm thinking is that anytime we put out a range of what the bridge loan would be, you're handing it to the real estate community. And so I know we need some parameters within which to work, but we don't want to be increasing the amount that it's going to cost for a buy down.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've already increased it. I mean, it has already increased. When we approved our share of the buy down program 2 years ago, it brought the total to $500,000, which apparently even at the time wasn't enough. And nothing's happened. And for my approach to this is that if a buy down is ever going to work, because if we're talking about $750,000 as the cost of, well, we'll see what the net cost is, but we're paying 650 to build new on projects. And if there's not a way to make, I think we should exhaust the idea of what would it take to have be able to do a buy down, period. And if it's going to be too expensive for us to do, then maybe all that we can do is contribute to new construction. But let's give this a try for if and welcome comments from Liz on this.
Yeah, thank you. I think the CHDC is really appreciative of this offer. I mean, this is new. Last time it was discussed, I think there were a lot of other things that were on the table, so we didn't really get to this. I think that to your question, Linda, the CHDC would be the purchaser. I think that that's the way they've always envisioned the program, that they would actually purchase the unit and do the appropriate repairs and all that, and then they would be the ones to sell it to the eligible purchaser. I think that's the transaction flow. It's assumed that because it would be probably a lower priced unit, that repairs would be necessary. And so, so the amounts available would have to include that. I think that Keith's idea of the CHDC requesting the funds seems to be consistent with how you operate, and that seems to make some sense. I did see in the latest write-up that the existing grant agreement would just be amended to include this. So that was a different piece that I saw, or that was the recommendation or thought, I guess. And so that makes it a little bit easier too. It's not a new grant agreement, so that would simplify. I think there's still really a conversation about any other conditions that might be with the funds and all that, but that could be, part of what's discussed. I think the CHDC would be open to that. I think that 650 is low. I think that Rich's other numbers are interesting, but not exactly what the numbers would be in terms of what the eligible purchaser price would be and all of that, but we have those numbers. The 80% requirement that someone mentioned, that comes from the trust. That's not CPA. There's two buckets of money coming in here. The CPA money comes in at 100% AMI, but the trust money comes in at 80% AMI.
Yeah,
So,
the trust money did come from the CPA, but by the time they met us to give us money in fiscal 2024, they were only letting us have the money at 80% of AMI.
yeah, so that's where that comes from, right?
Yeah.
And getting the unit on the SHI is always a great thing. It's a lower priced household. The process is longer for sure, but it is what it is. So the LIP process is a little bit, as I say, it's just longer. It is a long process, even
Yeah.
aside from purchasing the property. Once the property is purchased or, an address is known, just that process is a good 9 months or something, depending on the house and depending on how much work is needed and all like that, maybe 6 months, maybe something with the lottery and the advertising and all of that. So it's a lot to do for one unit. It's a high touch program, as I call it, for one unit.
Yeah.
The last time CHDC did this, it was, they worked with Habitat and got 2 units out of that house on Main Street. So you never know with the property that you find if there's other opportunities. There might be an opportunity to do an ADU, for example, depending on what property is there.
Yep.
So just never know. But without the money, you can't really look in earnest, and the money really needs to be in hand. So I appreciate the thought process of not coming back to the trust, because then you're not really able to act in that quick capacity. You really need to have the funds available at that time.
Thanks.
So I'll just leave it
Matt.
at that.
I just wanted to say that I'm not particularly concerned about Linda's worry that the committing the funds might influence the price of the property. I think that at the tier we're talking about, it's just a highly competitive market. And so the price is going to be the price, I suspect. There will be plenty of buyers, potential buyers, even if it's a tear down unit.
There might be, the only opportunity is maybe, and this is what happened last time, is that maybe someone's interested in having their home go for affordable housing.
Yeah, or below market sales, some sort.
Below market sales, right? So, never
But I
know.
mean, that's still a possibility, I think.
Yes.
If someone has that goodwill, I think that that goodwill should remain. We'll see.
Yes, yes.
Mike?
I'm not quite sure that I agree with the notion of having the money in hand. I mean, the trust is able to operate very quickly when it comes to proposals that come before us. And so I'm not quite sure I understood that point. I'd like to make sure that we have all of our ducks in order in terms of any legal requirements or other requirements that would be in front of us if we were going to go ahead with this project. But other than saying that we're willing and able to entertain these kind of proposals, I don't think we should do much more until there's actually something in front of us. And then we can act. I mean, how long does it take to get our committee
I think
together? And
my concern is the agreement. I mean, I'm sort of with you that we ought to look at the numbers. You know, if it's going to take 300,000 to fix up the house, we may not want to come up with it.
right.
But just given my experience with watching all of the grants and things we have to do, having a format into which we could stick a number and having that approved and agreed with CHDC is what I'd like to see. And then I'm with you. You know, you've got a house, you need $200,000, come to us and we will give you an immediate yes or no.
I think what we should do is, I, we're the funding source, and I think it's up to the applicant to come up with what it is they need from us. And so we should review once we see what the CHDC is asking for. We ought to review that and take a vote on it. For me, the important thing is they do need to have the money, just as we need to have the money available when an opportunity arises. So does CHDC. That was the plan initially with bringing their pot of money to $500,000 so that they could do it, and then just tell us about it after it was deed restricted. But rather than so I would really say that CHDC should come to us with their proposal, and we can have a robust discussion about whether the majority of this board wants to approve that or not. Because if the answer is no, then I think that's the death knell for the buy down program. And the reason why we're having this discussion now is because the Community Preservation Committee has been asked to give an extension of its fiscal 2022 funds that it awarded to CHDC, which they're asking for 2 more years. Our funds turn into a pumpkin a year from now. I'd like to have what I suggested for any agreement between the town and between the trust and the CHDC is that the period of time for the grant agreement, that is the period of time that the monies would be available, the additional monies would be available from us to CHDC, would be the same period of time. It would be no longer than whatever extension they get from the Community Preservation Committee. Because once half of those funds go away, there's no buy down. There's no buy down program anymore. So this is the sort of the last gasp of can we do a buy down or not? And I think that we have to let CHDC tell us what they need to do a buy down, and then we decide if we want to do that or not. Mike, Matt.
I was just thinking that, it's like a loan pre-approval, we say, hey, you're pre-approved for a loan of up to 300,000, let's say. But that doesn't mean that they have the loan. What it means is that we could call a meeting at 3 days' notice, and we already have the terms in place, and we can then review the proposal and vote at that time. 3 days should be soon enough. That's a fast decision, right? It wouldn't jeopardize the deal, would it?
It depends on what the criteria is that under what conditions would you not approve the request if the CHGC, if the home met their requirements, the home seems suitable for the program, the home's going to be approved by the state. And
I
if the
think that
numbers were the numbers that were
almost certainly
understood,
would
under what
approve it.
conditions would you not approve?
No, I mean, we almost certainly would approve it, but I think that Mike's concerns are well stated, that we have a sort of governance process, and who knows? Something, we just need to actually have a proposal in front of us that we can fund, as opposed to throwing money out there and saying, whatever you do.
Well, the
even
difference in
though
this
we
money
trust
is
these
that,
guys,
yeah,
and,
unlike the
yeah.
difference is, unlike the first $500,000 that has gone towards this program, ideally we get back any
Yeah.
additional amount. So we're at no risk.
Well, yeah.
Well,
The other
we
money
are.
you already gave.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I don't know.
we are at risk. The loan isn't necessarily going to get paid back in full. It could cost more to renovate the unit. There's lots of things that could happen.
Could I propose a motion that we ask CHDC to consider the working capital proposal and to come back to us with an indication if they would like to do that and an outline of what they think it should look like? I mean, they can say, no, we don't want to do it. I mean, we're not going to buy houses, I don't think.
Right. Well, is that the form of a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to repeat that, please?
That we request CHDC, if they determine it in their best interest, to submit a proposal to us for working capital to supplement the monies currently pending for a buy down, with an indication of the elements that they would want to see in such agreement. I mean, I can write that for you. If everybody's got the gist of it, I'll write it.
That's it. I'll second that.
So can I
Motion
just
by
clarify?
Rich.
Yeah, sorry.
Second by Matt. Liz?
Are you inviting the CHDC to apply for funds? Or is this not that?
Apply for a working capital agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so using the same process and your form and all that, just the way the town just did, like with the housing production.
Yeah, we have no other form
Yeah.
except that.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
inviting the CHDC to apply and to provide all the background and narrative that you're asking for.
Right. I
Okay,
think,
very good.
yeah, I think what I was saying and what Rich is saying is the same thing, but
Perfect.
we can feel better about the
Yeah.
request.
Good.
making a request.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Because ultimately, the trust doesn't make the request.
Yeah.
We act on the request, and the person and the entity requesting really needs to request something that they're prepared to do.
Sure.
So and I'm confident CHDC will only apply for what they want to do. So,
course.
and then we'll know what that is. Is there further discussion on the motion? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Mike,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes,
Linda,
Hi,
Matt,
Off of mute. Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that motion passes 5-0. And I will listen to the tape after, before sending out a notice of what we just did. All right, well, thank you. Thanks very much. It's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to suggest that we pick a time for our next meeting. And wonder when that should be. Sometime in November. November's a busy month, I'm sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, should we make it tentative based upon that we'd have to have CHDC come to the next meeting, presumably?
yeah, I think that would be a good idea, because their meeting is next week, right, Liz?
Yeah, though, I mean, I don't know if they're gonna be ready
If they're
after
gonna
next
act.
week to make this request to the trust, so they have to meet and discuss and then, all that, so, yeah.
Well,
Right, and they meet monthly?
They
yeah,
meet
the first
weekly.
Tuesday of every month.
Yeah. So,
We could schedule, you want to schedule a meeting for the first week in December?
that sounds good.
So I'll just say another concern that I have and with about scheduling. Town meeting warrant is going to close before we know it, and we don't know what we're doing with 91B Main
Yeah,
Street.
that's what worries me about going into December. Maybe
Well,
Alyssa has an update for us, I don't know, but.
let's meet in November on the 20th, and if we need to meet with them later, we just get it scheduled and get it done.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay, so schedule a meeting for the 20th of Thursday, the 20th of November at 5 p.m. I can do that. I'm at a conference in Worcester, but I can leave early to get here. So does that work for folks? The 20th, Thursday, the 20th?
Works for
of
me.
November,
Works for me.
5 p.m. Okay. All right, public comment? No public comment. Thank you. Is there,
Ed, I think.
Ed?
Yeah, just real quickly, I know you're ready to go. Just
Yeah.
thank you for the money for the sprinklers. That's really important. Jennifer mentioned the unit that we did buy, with CBC plus money from the Housing Authority that was available because of our LLC that we have. The future on money from CHA for buy downs is, probably in our point of view, we've got to hold money for reserves because we did a review of all the properties that we received from HUD, and it looks like in about 4 years we're going to be on the having to pay about $1 million a year on upkeep. So right now we're not looking for helping on a buy down for property for the CHA. The last thing, on the funding for the that we've been trying to get from the state approval on the transfer fees and so forth. I just feel that we're not getting any progress. And we had a training with the Community Preservation Coalition in Carlsbad a couple of weeks ago, and I had a long talk with their the trainer that came over and talked about it. His opinion was that the real estate lobby in Boston is just too against ever approving this. And I think that we have to really either put pressure on the real estate people. I noticed on the news tonight that Cambridge has increased their commercial property tax by 23% for to pay for their budget for this year. So something like that might get their attention. On the other hand, maybe making the argument that we support the coalition. There's of towns that are looking for these new fees, but we might try to do an effort. I know Rich has really worked hard in going in front of the committees and so forth, but the idea that Concord is still a community, in fact, probably the only community this near to Boston that has retained its character and culture over 300 years now. So, maybe I'm, looking for a euphemism for Concord exceptionalism, but I just feel that we're, if we're going to really get the trust to work, I think we're going to need the funding source, which brings me last to the CPC. And I think Keith and I have been working together, and talking, about this year's ask for the Affordable Housing Trust, and I'm wondering if we need to change the seat on the CPC from I'm a board member of the CHA, and when the CPC started, it was just we were it was just somebody from the housing authority every time. It might be wise to look at the fact that Keith might be the better person, because the funding, the trust is how it's going to be working, in the future from the CPC. So maybe Keith and I can talk about that. And if you guys think maybe the best thing to go ahead is to change how the representative for housing is on the CPC. So I enjoy doing it, but I'm thinking we might be more effective if Keith did. But he's so busy anyway, so I'm not sure the best.
Well, I'm looking for my next life, and I've been thinking about landing there, albeit not as a trust representative, but there's work to be done there.
Can I just respond very quickly to Ed? I understand your pessimism. The parrot is molding, but it's definitely not dead. The bill from Senator Sear, which would create a transfer fee on the islands, got out of committee. We're reasonably optimistic we're going to get out of committee in the Senate, and maybe in the House as well. My hope is, I think we've gotten to the point where they almost can't say no to the Cape and Islands, with firefighters living in Hyannis. And my hope is that Rep. Gentile could, get the other towns that have done an HRP into whatever bill gets out and gets passed. And the other thing is, I think people are reevaluating, now that the federal government's running away from all its obligations, we're left with the state and local localities, and we got to make the argument that this is better than the property tax. But I understand your concern, and I think the big element last time and what we have to do this time is we have to flood. When we get something close to the floor, we have to offset the real estate lobby. What killed us last time, I think, is that they really turned on the email machine and we didn't. And I think that's what we got to do this time. Thanks, Keith. I'm sorry, I got to run anyway.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Let's do a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Mike, second by Rich. On that motion, Mike,
Yes,
Rich,
aye.
Linda,
Yes.
not. And Keith, aye. All right, so we are adjourned at 6:10 p.m. Thanks all very much.